like all good TCGs, Disney Lorcana is a complex, ever-evolving ecosystem comprised of players, collectors, sealed product investors, and whoever just wants to get their hands on some spicy cardboard to experience the game with their friends or, yeah, some even by themselves. But Disney Lorcana had been failing the vibe check, if you will. While players boasted of a wonderful play scene, we were missing an aspect of collectability, availability, and yes, value. And I know nobody likes to talk about the value of TCGs, but there's an entire sector of human being that engages with the cardboard world that cares what their cards cost. And because of this, when you fail to address that group of individuals, well, you lose a large portion of your audience. And whether it's collectors, evil investors, or people just trying to build for fun binders to show off to their friends, we need those involved. And Disney Lorcana seems to have turned the corner with Archeza's Island. I'm going to call it Archeza's Island through the entire video because, frankly, it's a hard word for me to say, so I'm just going to need you to bear with me. We have collected every single sold listing of sealed product for the new Disney Lorcana release from TCG Player. We have stored it in the vault. We're going to go over to cardboardfinance.com and check out the data. And with that, we are going to see a trend that we have not seen in Disney Lorcana in, well, a long time. And this is making me more and more excited about the future of the latest wacky game. Now, I know, I just said wacky game mostly because I wanted to end that long intro in kind of a fun way. And if you like the conversation here, you want to help support the channel, hit the subscribe button and the like button down below. They do far more for a small channel like mine than you can possibly imagine. If you want to go further and help support cardboardfinance.com so I don't have to pay all the server costs out of pocket, you can click the join channel membership button. It's $5 a month. You get access to exclusive content, deals when I do box openings, and early releases of videos. Just $5 a month. It's down below. But without further ado, I do want to head over to cardboardfinance.com and I want to have the Disney Lorcana discussion. And I want to preface and frame this discussion a little bit with the fact that historically, Disney Lorcana on online spaces has not been the most successful game since the early days of something like the first chapter that went through a great availability crisis and people were going back to the set, and we see trends, ups, downs, and then backups that we never see in TCGs. It has been more of the same, mimicking more indie TCG than it ever has major player in the space. We got into sets such as Into the Inklands, and we started to see the writing on the wall where fewer and fewer boxes were selling on release. The box prices were holding not nearly as well, and well, that trend of never coming back and never being reinterested was, well, it was abundant. But for Archeza's Island, we see something different. And I want to look at the last set, Azurite Sea, as a block of comparison. Right away, Azurite Sea off the jump, pre-sold okay. It did fine on the secondary market. And mind you, there are concerns here. I do want to talk about the fact that, and just because you might be new here, these are not indicative of like the total number of boxes sold. No, it's a comparison of a game to a similar audience on the same platform in the same timeline. And so we can compare and contrast these sets in this bubble, in this scientific ecosystem, to see how they do against one another and to give us an overall field of what's going on outside of that bubble. So don't look at this and be like, my game store sells just as many of those, or what about that? Like, it's just a comparison of those sets in this ecosystem. But as we see Azurite Sea being kind of a meh, okay hitting set, Archeza's Island does not indicate to be pumping any much higher than that as far as number of boxes sold. Now remember, we're still in the early release portion for this product on TCG Player. That means this is still pre-sale for TCG Player since it's considered a big box store. This is openly available at the local game store, and so because of that, I assume the majority, 99% of Disney Lorcana sales in these early release periods are happening at the small hobby shop, the local game store. But Archeza's Island is doing something that, well, frankly, I never thought I'd see a Disney Lorcana product do, and that is holding value. We see here that the booster box of the latest set is selling right now at $132.26 on the secondary market. And the reason I brought up both these tabs is we don't see an overwhelming change in the number of boxes sold on a set-by-set basis for the later Disney Lorcana sets. You can go to cardboardfinance.com on your desktop. Version 2 will be mobile friendly, but version 1 is just desktop friendly. And we can see that, you know, these earlier sets are not super variable when it comes to the number of boxes sold. And while the number of boxes sold hasn't changed, the cost of the box drastically has. In fact, to a healthy point where stores, if they have boxes in their inventory right now, are able to list them online, sell them to people online, and still either make their money back or actually make a couple dollars of profit. I know every once in a while here we talk about our game stores actually making money on the things they sell us, and that can be construed as very bad because some people don't like that, but I like the fact that the place I go to play games with my friends and interact with my favorite hobbies and slam down my favorite cardboard can keep its doors open. In fact, the fact that my local game store, Min-Max Games, can sell products to people enough to pay their employees a wonderful wage and have places for me to play and gather is beautiful to me. So in fact, I like that. And this is indicative of a much healthier ecosystem than we have ever seen. In fact, we haven't seen this since very early on in Disney Lorcana. And if we break it down and look at some of the other sets and take a look at the sealed products in those sets, we will notice that, well, some of these boxes now are just now taking an uptick. They are just now coming back around to be viable products once again. In fact, we were just looking at Shimmering Skies. If we take the Shimmering Skies booster box, for example, just the draft booster box, we see that the price of this box has been on a steady decline. It's behind. Hi, how you doing? It's been on a steady decline for some time now, and because of this, there's not much interest in going back and revisiting the set. In fact, if you take a look at the singles that you can get for this release, there's not anything that's, you know, crazy coveted. I know that enchanteds from every set are going to be fairly viable. In fact, I think there's a ton of enchanteds from this set, and if we just take a look, the Mufasa from the set on the top left here is probably one of my favorite pieces of art in Disney Lorcana. I absolutely adore this card, but it hasn't done as much as maybe we'd like it to move the product across the space, you know, in a way that really shapes the Disney Lorcana ecosystem. And we've talked about this, and I say all this to say I do believe that Ravensburger is reigning in print runs. We see a similar number of boxes selling. We see community interest staying fairly stable. I'm sure there's some slight uptick. I'm sure if you're a Disney Lorcana fan, you're like, it's blowing up, it's crazy, but I want to assure you that it's not how TCGs work after their first couple sets. Their growth is steady, their growth is consistent, and that, my friends, is healthy. I believe we are seeing that with Disney Lorcana. There's not some massive explosion of growth here, but I do think that this means that they reined in the print runs to be a far more manageable number. This is gross speculation. This is wild ideas that I'm having in the basement of my home. Remember, I don't own a game store. I'm just a fan like the rest of you guys out there. But I do believe that seeing a similar number of sales, seeing a similar amount of online interest, and seeing a box price be far more stable would be indicative of a couple things. The cards in the set are vastly more powerful, they are way better, and they're holding a premium. And yes, during pre-release that always tends to happen, but it generally doesn't drive the value of the box up this early. The only thing that can really do that is a lightened print run. And I want to say this, you know, I think it's important to point out, I don't mean a lightened print run in the sense that, oh, we're short printing everything, let's invest in sealed boxes and make millions. No, I mean a more appropriate print run. A TCG has to be somewhat collectible. People have to covet your special treatments. Otherwise, what's the point of enchanteds, right? You have to want these things. And to want these things, they have to be somewhat, you know, chase-worthy, somewhat out of your reach, somewhat hard to come by. And as the boxes are printed into oblivion, there's too many boxes printed for the number of people actually buying them off the shelves. Well, these don't necessarily hold value in the way that we all think they should. And because of this, the collectability side of the game takes a bit of a hit. And while you don't always collect based out of value, in fact, I've done several videos on this channel about collecting things that I just like, that aren't like not expensive collections, just like 50-cent cards that I really enjoy. I think there's a good amount of people, enough to matter, that collect things for the value, to see the value go up, to be proud of the value of the collection that they have put together. All in all, this theoretical reduced print run is substantiated by the fact that my contacts in the space have said it is not just open season on Disney Lorcana, going to their distributor to get more boxes, to get more cards in their hand. However, it's actually hard to get, but many distributors are saying we are either out or heavily limited orders for, order number 2, order number 3 of Archai's Island. And this, to me, so far is healthy. I want to make sure it cannot go too far in the other direction. Disney cannot print this box so lightly that it's hard to come by. That would be very bad. It's a game that does well when it is spread around, when it is in front of a lot of eyes because of the Disney IP, the love of Disney characters. Without that, I think you lose a tiny bit of the magic, and we don't need Lorcana to lose any of its magic right now. We need to keep it all and grow it in any way we can. All in all, I think this is great for the game. If Ravensburger made this decision, I think this is a wonderful decision heading in the right direction, and I'm excited for what Disney Lorcana has to hold in the future. But are you? Is a stable box price something you as the consumer want to see? I know when I buy boxes, it's like, I kind of wish it would dip, and then after I buy it, go back up. So I'm like, oh, I got a great deal, something like that. Let me know in the comments section below. Thank you so much for hanging out. Until next time, you all know me. My name is Josh, and, well, we'll see you around. Okay, everyone. Goodbye.